Thanks a ton for the introduction, Kevin. Quick data point about the NMAPC, or if you're in Western Pennsylvania, NAMPAC, right, Kevin? I say that endearingly. Quick data point here. NMA work hours for you folks last year, you've amassed over 6.5 million work hours. So that's a darn good number. We're all climbing out of those pandemic numbers, like the gentleman before us just said, those days are done. So real good to see 6.5 million. You know, those are pension credits, those are work opportunities, and I'm privileged just to be here this morning with you. So like Kevin said, like all of you, you made a decision to be here in Orlando. So did these gentlemen, and can't thank you enough for making the decision to join us all this morning. What we're going to effort to do right now is have an open, honest dialogue with these folks. We like hearing about what we do well, but we'd love to hear where we can improve, right? To state the obvious. Let's get some of that out this morning as well. So with that, let's do some quick bios. We'll start with Ken Vonderhaar here. And please, Ken, take it away.
So my name's Ken Vonderhaar. I work for CRB, which is an engineering construction firm, but I recently retired from Anheuser-Busch. So many of you who drink Budweiser and that type of thing, that's something that I did for 36 years with Anheuser-Busch. So most of what I'm going to talk about today is, of course, from my experience with Anheuser-Busch.
Thank you for your work fueling America, Ken.
That's
Appreciate
right.
it. Will, you're up, please.
Good morning. My name is Will Trum. I'm the Vice President of Labor Relations and Labor Supply for the Tennessee Valley Authority. The Tennessee Valley Authority is the 6th largest energy producer in the nation. We operate the 3rd largest nuclear production generation in the nation. And sometimes talking with you guys in these rooms are really important, because at TVA, we've been around for 90 years. And we are not just a union-friendly company, but we are a pro-union company. And that's a little bit different. This past year, over 15 million hours worked were given to our building and trade unions on our hourly side and our construction side. 100% of our labor is done by union labor. At TVA, we know nothing but utilizing union labor. We're responsible at TVA for the economic development of the 7-state Tennessee Valley for over 10 million people. We have responsibility of being stewards of the environment, so we're a little bit different. At TVA, we're not worried about driving shareholder value. We're concerned about driving grandma's value. We're concerned about controlling cost, of giving affordable energy, consistent, reliable, and resilient to the communities. And then in return, at the end of our quarters, instead of reporting for money, we're reporting to people and making sure that they have the opportunity to afford their Medicare, their prescription drugs, and we take that just as seriously in our mission of service as we do, creating, funding money. But excited about being here today, excited about being on this panel.
Thanks, Will. Duly noted on the difference between pro-union. We'll touch on that in the beginning of our Q&A. Keith, please.
All right. Thank you, Keith Metcalf. I work in labor relations with Southern Company, utility company in the Southeast, near my friend with TVA here. So in my career, I've had the privilege to not only be in labor relations, but actually work out on the job on Southern Company projects with all the NAB2 trades, including iron workers, on various maintenance projects and construction projects. So it's my privilege to be here today.
Thank you, Keith. Ted, good morning. Ted from Cleveland Cliffs.
Good morning. I am with Cleveland Cliffs. We are known as the American Iron and Steel Company here in the United States. We have over 20 facilities that make steel, all the way from the Philadelphia area over to Chicago, through the Ohio River Valley, up to our mines up in Minnesota and Michigan. My history actually has been on the contractor side for the first 33 of my 34 years here in the industry. I'm from Local 395 area. I have a very good history, but I have done work through Local 25, Local 290, many parts of the Midwest. In fact, last year I was out there in the Philadelphia area at Coatesville. I'm really here, I feel very compelled that we need to keep improving our image, that the construction labor opportunities that are there for our young people are great opportunities, and to try to reverse one of the worst stats out there that's against us, which is what percentage of our students go to college after high school. You provide great opportunities. I know many people that have raised great families and have a great lifestyle because they joined the union as an apprenticeship and have provided that effort down the line through generations. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Tom, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm the outlier here, the splinter guy, right? I talk about the wood. So really excited to be here. It's not often that we get to play out the script for our future. And we had our home built by Ironworker Group and with Mass Timber. And we've had many projects. The most successful projects we've done for the erectors have been done by ironworkers. So we thought this was a really great opportunity when we were presented to come down here. I'm a manufacturer out of Northeast Washington and a mass timber manufacturer. And we really wanted to preach the gospel about how important it is for ironworkers to be able to get ahead of the game, get more and more of this scope, and build the hours in this, because you all are the ones that really should be building these. These are structural elements, and it's very important to understand that. And so just honored to be here and get to talk about this and present something that's going to be coming hard at us in the future.
Outliers are good, Tom.
Yeah.
We're
that's
happy
good.
to have you here for sure. We got a lot of those granddaddy industries, and we're all a part of these emerging markets that we're trying to take advantage of. So real good to see you. Again, thanks for everyone joining us. This was kind of our first question anyhow, but Will made mention about being pro-union, right? Everyone's got a choice. Starting off with Ken here, your thoughts on why you're here today?
So Anheuser-Busch is pro-union, very much like what you're saying. I've been with the company for 36 years, and we use union contractors on purpose. We use union contractors because, for the same reasons that Gary and Tony talked about this morning, we want to bring a well-trained, safe, competent person to our facility to help build our facilities. One of the most important things for us as an owner is a predictable outcome. When we bring the union contractors and union ironworkers to our facility, that's what we can get. And we look at it as a value proposition for us. So for us, we really look at this as something that matches our core principles and matches our business objective. With regards to safety, our plant managers have personal bonus targets that are tied to the safety of the contractors working in their plant, in addition to their own employees. So all of this is rolled into the same calculation, so certainly safety is a big thing. But we also really want to make sure that we have competent people that are working on our most important structural systems. So we are very much a big part of that contractor pro-union facility also.
Alignment, take away from that. Thanks a lot. Will, how about it?
Yeah, again, I know nothing other than working with our union partners across the table. For 90 years since the TVA Act was signed by President Roosevelt in 1933, we have partnered with union partners across this country to ensure that we're able to deliver on the needs of the Tennessee Valley, the 7-state region that, again, affects over 10 million people. It's easier for me a little bit because we have the nation's longest running project labor agreement. We recently signed a 10-year additional deal to that project labor agreement. And so, it's a little bit different, but what I'll tell you in the partnership how it's evolved is our unions serve as business partners. The leaders, whether it's General President Dean, Melvin Brewer, we've changed to where we don't wait and deliver things to our union partners, but as we are developing our strategic plans, we are meeting with union leaders, getting feedback at the time before implementation to ensure that we have a business partnership. And there's a respect that comes with that, for both labor and for owners, is that you know more about your work than we do. The people in the field know more about their work than what our management team does. And so those layers of participation and partnerships, along with our important contract partners, to ensure that when people come to work on TVA property, they understand there is a standard. And that standard is that we are pro-union. I'm looking at my DZ partners in the crowd. They understand what I'm saying here is they understand there's an expectation of behavior across the TVA property. There's a way that we treat our union partners, and it is not as a work source, but it is as a business partnership to ensure the support of TVA both regionally and then also nationally to ensure that we are successful as we go through the energy utilization portfolio changes that you guys are all been talking about. From you heard the last speaker talk about gas to new nuclear, and we know in the next 30 years we have about 90 years of work to do, and we can't do that splintered. There's only one way for us to do this, what has to happen to rebuild the infrastructure of this country, and that is unions and owners collectively together, coming to the table at the same time together to ensure we have that path forward for future success.
Will, I'm going to take business partnership and hit pause on having everybody else go through their perspectives on going pro-union or their business decision. But anybody on the panel got anything that needs to be worked on to ensure that business partnership continues? We didn't really dry run that question, but it came up. So if you got something, let's hear about it.
I do. So we don't hire for the jobs. We supply for the jobs as a manufacturer. So here's what I think is really important for everybody to understand where we're at with the industry right now. Getting in front of this, like we've talked about, and moving forward, changing the narrative, and not just thinking about this as, well, I'm going to do it the way I've always done it. Let's look at it differently. So one of my big pitfalls is projects die on the line all the time, and one of those big factors are not having an installer, a contractor that can put them up. They don't understand that. You're saving time, you're saving, the sustainability aspect is there. But if you don't know what's happening, you're going to bid it like you know how to bid it versus a different opportunity, a different way of doing that. So in order for these projects to move forward and this building to continue and bring the industry along, that's where manufacturers, not just myself, but all mass timber manufacturers need you all to get on board with this like you're doing and understand this is what we have to do. So you can go to the GCs, the developers, the owners, and go, hey, we know how to do this, no problem. And bam, all of a sudden things increase dramatically. That's my ask.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, I was going to emphasize from a business partnership, maybe I've been spoiled. And one of the things that we're trying to reinstill this year is more tripartite meetings. They're very important. Meeting with your customer, with your contractors, as well as the union, talking about the future opportunities. You've heard it mentioned many times already in this conference about face-to-face contact versus trying to meet on Teams or through a text or anything else. There's nothing that replaces face-to-face. And so when these events are organized, whether it's a golf outing, maybe it's a special night that there's some type of banquet where you recognize the local construction project awards and Craftsman of the Year and so forth. Take advantage of those times to meet your customers. Take advantage of those times to meet with the contractors and get to know what's out in front of you. That's how you build it. But you have to be in person. You cannot be working remote. Our business is face-to-face.
If I may, I'll underscore the tripartite approach, right? There's a reason this is not just a labor and management conference. We have our end users here. All three parties are talking, right? All three legs of the stool. Point well taken. Anybody else in that regard?
As I look at, from my experience, we try to talk about where are the things that we can improve. And from us, it's consistency. We can get great jobs, and we usually get great jobs, but we don't always get great crews. So for us, and we've seen it in our own project teams, it's really getting to the fundamentals. It's bringing a trained crew and a trained person who understands our business objective as an owner. And certainly from a food and beverage company like Anheuser-Busch, as you guys can probably imagine, speed to market is really a big thing for us. So if we decide we're going to put out a new seltzer, we're going to need it yesterday. So understanding that, but creating a system that allows consistent results, that allows our projects to be predictable is a critical part of our business culture. And it's an area that it's good, there's room for improvement.
Oh, good. Thanks for that. Good conversation there. I'm going to go to, Ken, I'm going to stay with you. Let's talk about value add relative to the ironworkers and their partner contractors. Talk about it a little bit, if you could, and then where we might improve.
So we talked about the safety side, and again, everybody recognizes safety, and that's a big part of it here. And again, the value add, we've talked about it, several times for this conference. It's obviously bringing safe and competent people to the table, and that's why we hire union contractors. So that's a given. That's a very easy decision for us. From where is the value that we can improve? Again, it's kind of getting back to the fundamentals there. It's something as simple as working, and this is part of the owner's responsibility too. We'll hire a general contractor who put the foundations in and they put the anchor bolts in the wrong spot. All right, how can we work together to try to make sure that before we start erecting all of our steel, that is not a problem? Because as soon as we get to the job site and that's a problem, all the momentum from that, the whole ironworker's craft just goes away. So that's something that, how can we work together a little bit more to try to minimize those types of things? Certainly things like, how can we keep up on our certifications? How can we expand our certifications capability to give our teams a little bit more autonomous operation? Certainly benefits us as owners and will certainly benefit everybody else.
Very good. Anyone else there on the ironworker value add that you might like to? Keith, please.
I'll just mention Mike on, what more can they do for us? Just keep up the good work. I know we've mentioned the term tripartite here a few times, and that is very important. And I know for us, uniquely with Southern Company, we have our own unique labor agreement that the ironworkers, along with the other building trades crafts, support us on for tripartite support there, not just to facilitate that labor agreement, but also the Southern Safety Trilateral is very important to us as well, as we try to drive a partner with our labor partners, including ironworkers, to drive a safety culture at our sites.
Part of that, like what Ken was talking about and Keith, is, if there was a challenge, right, it's, the industry's changing. Like, there is a changing industry in front of us and the capabilities. We fund about $15 million in apprentice programs from the Tennessee Valley Authority based on hours worked across your groups. And I'm going to tell you, the flexibility and nimbleness, the truth is, we don't have the workforce that we need across this country to build the infrastructure. You heard yesterday about all the billions of dollars being released, and sometimes we're like the cat who caught the canary. How are we getting work done? And that people capacity right now is probably one of the biggest challenges in the industry that we have in front of us today. It used to be money, and then it was supply chain, and then people, but the people always showed up. Today we find ourselves having to reschedule work because we don't have the people. And then we're talking about shaping your future here today. And we're talking about shaping what is the next generation's future. Who are the people coming in? And how are we driving apprentices? How are we driving training centers? How are we picking up other work to allow other unions to kind of that have similar quals to come in so we can maximize efficiency, right, across building? And so there's a different way of thinking today that you guys all need to be challenged with as you leave here today, of how do you bring value to an owner? And that value can be different, right? That value can be, hey, I have people in the hall, this union doesn't, they can go pull wire and we can get people to work and we can gain efficiencies. In today's world, the efficiency gained based on people working together, because we do not have the cavalry to go do the work today, is going to be one of the biggest challenges over the next 10 to 15, 20 years as we rebuild this nation's grid. And so, if there's again a challenge, how are we pipelining people for the future? How are we giving the next generation the opportunity? How are we making sure our apprentice programs have the skills of the future to ensure that as owners, what we've come to kind of rely on, which is the quality and the service and the professionalism of the ironworkers, how does that continue, not just this generation, but that next generation? Because we're all writing a chapter of a book. You're writing a chapter of the book. What is our chapter going to say when we close it? And so we all have that burden on us, and that's important for us as owners to look at the people capacity side and those skill sets.
Well, footnote something you've said there, Will. auto's not up here, refining is not up here, and utility is not up here. Those three owner classes also have they're right after safety. The second expectation is that your halls are going to supply the people, right? That kind of goes without saying, but I can't help but not say that. That is the national dialogue, at least at the National Maintenance Agreement with our owner advisory committee. That's the discussion right now, and it's fat times, fantastic time for growth for all of us, of course. Anyone else on that topic? We're looking good. Will, I'm going to stay with you, and anybody else jump in, I'll hit you up. You got thousands of crafts, hundreds of contractors in your system-wide applications. How do impact contractors and the iron workers compare? Be frank with us.
Yeah, I mean, no. Hopefully you can tell I'm already doing that, right? Sometimes
Sure.
to people's chagrin. Yeah, at any time across TVA, we have 10,000 annual workers that are represented by unions, and then up to 50,000 people working on construction outages across our footprint. At any point, we could have 50 to 60,000 union workers across our footprint, and hundreds of contractors at the same time. Good union contractors that come in, because obviously we give a benefit to the union contractors that come in and perform our work. To have so many, you have to have a standard. And I'm going to tell you, I want to tie this to the iron workers. The standard is set, by our union partners and by TVA that we expect our contractors to follow when they come in. So as a local hall, whether or not one contractor comes in or goes out, they need to understand when they come in, we have a relationship with our union partners first. And that partnership matters to TVA. And so if we have a contractor that comes in that doesn't understand the TVA standard, those contractors don't work on TVA property in the way that they treat our union personnel on the job site. And that goes without saying for the Tennessee Valley Authority. We have an expectation of that. But when we talk about the iron workers in the standard, it's pretty easy for us. Safety comes first. And the iron worker, Dick Ward, a longtime member, Melvin Brewer today, who started the Trilateral Safety Alliance, clearly set the industry standard for what does it look like to have a trilateral safety standard of contractor, union, and owner at the table that's been benchmarked in best practices. I talked earlier about partnerships, treating our unions as partners. If I have an issue at Tennessee Valley Authority, Melvin Brewer, General President Dean, Sean Paul, just a few key people that we go to first to say, hey, we have an issue, what are we working on together? There has never been a point where they can't call us and we can't call them to work at any level of TVA to ensure that work is happening. Accountability. Accountability is very important for both parties. We have to be accountable to our union partners. Our union partners are accountable to us. We have mutual accountability to ensure the work is being done. Then you talk about quality of work. Well, there's no question to me, the highest quality of work happens because of registered apprentice programs that you guys teach, that you guys put out the best people into the workforce, of iron workers in the workforce that can do that work better than anybody. And so when you ask me, where do we stand with the iron workers? There is not a generation site today that's operating across the Tennessee Valley, that's providing power, low-cost, efficient power across the valley, that has not been touched by an iron worker, and there will be not another facility built in the next 30 years, where we're doing 90 years worth of work, that will not be touched by an iron worker. So for us, that relationship, General President Dean, is strong, remains strong, and will be strong for generations.
Keith, when you're out on the job, and I know you worked with the tools at the beginning of your career, what's your impression of the iron worker out on the job that you're interacting with that you could share with us? And is that impression the same that you get after you speak with the ironworking contractor?
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned, Mike, I hadn't always, got to dress in nice clothes and be clean all day. I did spend some time out on the job, and still get some time to go out and visit the job. So, I've always found that, approaching ironworker craft out there in the field on Southern Company projects, whether it's construction or maintenance, they're not bashful. They're more than willing to give you information as an owner's representative if you ask questions. So, that's a great way to find out how the job's going. A great inroad to find out about safety on the job as it relates to our Southern Safety Trilateral and this safety culture that we continue to want to foster. That is, if you see something, say something. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned veteran or if you're an apprentice and it's your first day on the job. We want you to have a questioning attitude, because at the end of the day, safety is the priority there. Again, you know, it's a tripart association between the owners, the end users, contractors, and labor. But sometimes it is valuable to get that feedback as an owner, get feedback from whoever's running the job. They may tell you something that they may feel inhibited to tell the contractor. So that is very important. And again, our three-way communication there is very important.
Thanks very much. Anyone else on that? Impressions of the iron worker and their contractor out on the job? First impressions, maybe impressions after 15, 25 years?
I have never met an iron worker that isn't dedicated to getting the job done right. That's what they come up to do. And they show up and put an honest day's work in. And that's something that's very important to us. It matches our principles. So again, credit to the apprenticeship program and all of you out there. It really helps us do our job.
Got a common denominator going on. Here. Got a common denominator. I'm, a little trend with your comments here. Alignment, it sounds like, right? They're kind of matching your expectations. So I'd like to hear that, of course. Ted, let's talk about everybody's favorite subject, math. We've got, the price of steel continuing to fluctuate. What does that volatility do inside of, the Cliffs offices relative to planning for projects?
Well, luckily for us, we have a very strong balance sheet. And our long-term strategy as being the largest integrated steel producer in America, one is modernizing our facilities, and two is going to a much cleaner way of producing steel. We're using hydrogen and have been testing hydrogen in our steelmaking facilities, and that's going to provide for a huge influx of opportunities here. The price of steel actually has a small effect maybe on the cost of building it, but it really does not change our outlook. We're going to keep making strategic moves and strategic projects to keep us at the forefront of not just the United States in the steel industry, but the world. The way we're going to be making steel in the future requires investment. We've already started that investment, already started putting hydrogen pipelines inside of our steel mills already and testing hydrogen. We're going to be waiting for the rest of the construction industry to bring that hydrogen to our steel mills. Other specific projects, well, let's just say that this year I'm going to be managing over $700 million of capital investment across our facilities. Most likely it's going to be above $700 million. And if overall that's material, that's equipment, that's labor installed, labor's probably about half of that. That's a tremendous amount of labor in there, and the price of steel is not going to change our path forward to a cleaner way of making steel and making our strategic decisions.
Thanks for that, Ted. Tom, let's talk about your business here. Vagon's success means the contractor's success, means that craft person's success, right? So what can the impact contractors and their partners in labor do to ensure your success and help you along the way?
Absolutely, and we're doing it. They're doing it, right? So the fact that we're here talking about this is the key. Relationships fail one conversation at a time or succeed one conversation at a time, right? Sometimes we have to slow down to speed up, and I think that's where we're at. Mass timber is coming, okay? It is not going to replace steel. It's not going to replace concrete. It's not going to replace stick built. It's going to be in conjunction. I'm a terrible salesman for saying this, but we need hybrid structures. Composite crews, composite structures make things powerful, okay? We need to stop the headbutting and talk, right? Work in conjunction, because, the billions of square feet that are built, mass timber, we're talking millions of square feet that are going to be built. We haven't even scratched the surface. 0.1% of construction is mass timber, and the trajectory is straight up. So the program that they're bringing, get on the list, huge, right? Use technology to your advantage. Open up your minds. How can you guys are really amazing at what you do. Mass timber, I look at it like a tool in a tool belt, okay? You don't need that tool on every job, but what you need to be good at is going, I need that tool on this job, I'm gonna take that out and I'm gonna kick ass with it, right? And that's where iron workers are a great fit for this, because you put stuff together, structural members, right? Mass timber is replacing steel structural members. And so we have to learn that. Programs, apprenticeships, we're already talking about that. You know, these guys are way ahead of the game. I will say the other C word, union, is behind the curve on this, and it's supposed to be about wood, right? I won't jump into that, and I'm going to be very non-biased, but the whole point is talking, moving forward, bringing the industry along, incorporating it into what you're doing creates scope, and the fact is you can ostrich it and say that'll never happen, it's not coming, I'm not worrying about it, or you can be ahead of it, and then wherever these projects are happening, if you know how to do that and install that and work with that, you're going to gain ground and you're going to be ahead of your competitors for a long time to come until they catch up. You don't want to play catch up, you want to be the leader. The industry is not bleeding edge, but it's leading edge. And so we're at a good time. We had a conversation yesterday. 5 years ago, this probably wouldn't have been as relevant as it is right now. Probably would have been a little soon. Now, it's catching, right? And we're a small manufacturer, okay? I want to preach the gospel of mass timber, not about Vaughan Timbers, but about the industry. Why everyone else isn't here talking to you all, I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is we're here talking about it. Get on the list. Understand that you have the technology out there to bring these jobs right to your preview and see exactly what's happening and make the decision if you want to do it. The apprenticeship programs are very important. Call them, get a mock-up done so you can touch and feel this stuff. You will find that there is no smoke and mirrors, and it's not magical stuff. No unicorn dust is needed for this. It's easy. It's what you do every day and are amazing at. So that's where I see that's important, and you guys are doing it. Just keep it up. Have the conversations.
Good to hear that. For the rest of the panel, any constructive criticism anywhere where they're not getting it done?
Yes. So there's been a lot of good things said, so I'm going to be the bearer of some critique here.
Sure.
I've seen a big transformation with the ironworkers. I've served on the apprenticeship board, especially about 20 years ago when it was transforming from, did you know somebody as an ironworker, you're in, to taking a test, passing the drug test, and doing so forth. We've come a long way. With Cleveland Cliffs, our expectations from a safety standpoint are rather high. Hands off the list. It's probably getting hit pretty hard in this group here. Hands off the lifts. Using taglines, not putting your hands. You know how natural it is for every single ironworker out there to put their hand on a piece of steel as it's going in? We're trying to change a culture. In fact, at our project in Coshocton, Ohio, all the steel's coming in, they've got like little fingers on there so you can tie a rope to it. Every single piece of steel, you can put a rope to it and tag it in there. So we need your help on that. If you're in one of our areas, you can grab a hold of our safety program. You can give it to your apprentices to take. Our safety program is good for 2 years. And it takes somebody through ISNet World probably about 3 hours to get through our safety program and take a test. Think about all the other locals. Who are your biggest end users? Can you incorporate their safety program into your apprentices, or maybe as a refresher course for any of your ironworkers? Therefore, when the call comes out that they need people, that's one less step to getting them on the job site. Safety is by far our biggest item. Drop steel is, nobody ever wants to hear drop steel, especially in this room. But using good safety techniques, we're going to save a few fingers, save some equipment damage, and be a little bit more productive. I really feel the value added from you is impressing upon that with all your membership. We are moving into a new direction. We've come a long way since I joined as an intern in 1989 as an intern. at Bethlehem Steel in Burns Harbor, but we have a ways to go and the fight's never done.
Valuable input. Thanks for that, Ted. Anyone else?
As we look at how our business is evolving and our construction environment is evolving, everybody understands it's increased technology. Now, we're not talking artificial intelligence here, but the more we can train our apprentices and get technology into the hands of them where they can access drawings easier, answer their own RFIs perhaps, or generate an RFI, and really be able to be a little bit more independent, not where every question gets ratcheted up the food chain there. We see that as an enabler. We do that in our own internal operations, and it's a lot of training involved in that. And we think that from a construction crafts perspective, certainly in iron workers, that an increased use of an adoption of that type of technology will help with productivity and then will help us get the jobs done.
Thanks for that, Ken. Looking good. Anybody else? All right. Let's talk a little bit about the industry as it is today. Our data internally, with the help of some of our signatory contractors, for easy math, we've got about 110 mega projects, let's call them, across the country. That's a job that's valued over $1 billion. Okay, there's 110 of those. Probably old hat to all of you. You might be aware of that. Internally at Talk in the NMAPC, we've stopped saying there's a, this is not to blow smoke, we've stopped saying that there's a craft labor shortage. We're calling it unprecedented labor demand, okay? That's my personal belief, right? Fat times happening right now. On the labor side, this is just a new age of labor demand, right? And we've stopped saying labor shortage. So my point there is, your people in the halls have a lot of choices these days. They can stay home, find work opportunities, they can boom out and make some incredible money wherever they might want to go, or follow the sun, or whatever they want to do. When we talk about incentivizing people to come to your opportunities, how are those conversations going with your partners on the management side? I'd love to hear how they're going with labor as well, but we'll start with anybody's perspectives on your work with those conversations relative to management. Anybody got anything?
Well, I think first, there's a unique opportunity in front of everybody in this room today, in front of the entire industry, right? Which is, you heard a lot talking about apprentice and apprentice programs. You guys in this room have the ability to change lives. Your lives were changed, whether you're a generational iron worker or you've brought new people in. And how are we replenishing? Last year we did a study where it showed, all 14 of our North American building trade unions, their retirement rate was out producing their apprentice rate. And so that's a challenge across the entire industry. How are we bringing people in? And I'm going to tell you, it's hard for you guys who are out there trying to organize people. We talk about, level one, year one apprentices, and you're paying them less than Buc-ee's pays the gas attendant at the gas station, right? And that's a problem for organizing labor. And so at TVA just this past year, we've raised our apprentice rate for year one to 71% of the journeyman rate, to ensure that when you guys are out there recruiting people into your apprentice programs, you're able to give a living wage from day one that they start the apprentice program, not waiting for year 3 of that program, to enable you guys to go out there and recruit better qualified people, because